push-ups. So this is a strength move and a regression towards the handstand push-up. Now, it is a skill, although it requires quite a lot of strength. It has this skill component that we need to understand from the start in order for us to transfer onto the next stage. So if you get the technique wrong at stage 1, it's going to affect how far forward we can move throughout the other stages. So a few rules apply. We're working towards the handstand push-up. Handstand, center of mass over base support. Hips need to be on top of the shoulders need to be stacked on top of the hands at the start. If we don't get this good piked position from the start, then it's going to affect the pathway leading into the bottom position. We also need an element of tension throughout the body. So I want you to think about keeping that posterior pelvic tilt, the body line position, so tension through the glutes, through the abs, to avoid any arching through the spine. Now, the reason why we want to limit the arch is because when we arch our spine, it's a sign that we are weak in the front of the shoulders, the anterior delts, and we can't support our weight going forward, so the weight goes out of the shoulders and in towards the lumbar spine to help out. So we want to limit the amount of load that we dump into our lumbar. If our first rep feels like a struggle and we're dumping the weight straight into that lower back, good chance that progression is too hard for you. So tucked in position with the lower back, hips, shoulders, hands all need to be stacked. When you are pushing, we need to use our lats. So you're going to drop the shoulders down away from the ears, and you're going to try to keep these lats switched on. So we're not elevating as much as we would in our handstand because we can't get our lats involved as much. So make sure before you lower down, you're dropping the shoulders to engage through the lats and to utilize the lats more than the traps, and then to lower down. Like any pushing progression, we need to keep the elbows at a 45, so make sure they don't flare out and make sure they don't tuck in. They stay at this 45 angle the whole time. So I don't like using markers because that's just the way, my method. I don't like using markers. So if you can't push up from the floor, you're just going to be doing eccentrics, or you might even just do accessory work to build up towards being able to push back up. So first progression is eccentrics. First progression, you're going to start with the hands roughly shoulder width, walking the feet up towards the hands, bringing the hips on top of the shoulders, and I'm tucking the butt in. Squeeze glutes, abs stay on, bringing those hips on top of the shoulders. Then from here, drop the shoulders down to utilize the lats. Lock the elbows in at a 45. I'm going to try to take as much of the weight in towards my shoulders and hands and out of my feet, lowering down, slow and control. Here, elbows in, abs stay on. Think about there's like a tripod setup. So my two hands are the bases and my head is going in between the two hands, making sure my hairline touches the floor. Whatever the neck does, the spine follows. If I'm sticking the head out, the rest of the spine is going to follow that arched position and that extended position. So keep the head neutral so the spine stays neutral, making sure your forehead touches the floor on the way down. Now, if you can lower down to the floor comfortably, great. If you can't lower down and it's more like a drop to the floor, then that progression's too hard. So you probably just need to increase your pushing power in general before moving on to specific pushing skills. So next stage from there. Again, hands stay shoulder width apart. Shoulders on top, hips on top, glutes on. Drop the shoulders down, locking the elbows in. This time I'm pushing back up. Now, a common mistake that many people make is they rock back and forth and they don't think about the stacking component. So what I don't want you to do is this. I'm not keeping any stack whatsoever here. Bring the hips on top of the shoulders. Glutes and abs stay on. Shoulders drop down. Lock the elbows out. Forehead touches the floor. And when I'm pushing back up, I'm thinking about shoving my butt over the hands as I push back up. Not back this way, in front of me. And again, abs stay on, shoulders down. I'm really thinking about shoving that butt over the hands as I'm pushing back up. This will keep the stack, not rocking back and just shoving everything back. Hips go one way, shoulders go the other, and they meet in the middle. If you can manage 3 to 5 reps for rounds comfortably, then you're gonna elevate your feet. However, the same rules apply. Shoulders stay down, elbows locked out. My forehead touches the floor. When I'm pressing back up, hips go over. Here. And I keep elevating my feet as I progress. When to know when to go onto the wall is if you can do pike push-ups at hip height. So with the feet at hip height for 3 to 5 reps comfortably for rounds, that's when you should move on to the wall. So work your way to elevating the feet to hip height first. For example, something like that box. Elevating your feet, once you can get 3 to 5 reps for rounds, that's when you can move on to doing more handstand push-up progressions on the wall instead of just building the strength and pathway through pike push-ups. Another thing as well, keep the elbows stacked on top of the hands the whole time and don't let them drift back behind the hands. The elbow stacking is also going to load the shoulders up more, but it's going to be more beneficial for us in the long run. Remember, it's building strength through the front of the shoulders and the lats, not just getting down to the floor. If you can get down to the floor, great. If you can't, that's fine. Still build some strength up in the shoulders. So, if we want to target more of our lats, when we're pushing up, more of the weight towards the base of the wrist. Fingers and knuckles encourages more of this, which isn't a bad thing. However, we want to use our lats more than our traps. So, when you're pushing back up, try to push from the base of the wrist up into your stacked pike position. So, start in eccentrics, work your way up to elevating the feet up to hip height for reps of 3 to 5 for rounds. But start just by doing negatives for 3 to 5 rounds, then work your way up.